congratulations. What an amazing performance you did in this. And I don't know about you, but I get very skittish when I see anything on screen about cars, and it drives me like, ugh. Tell me a little bit about, how you felt about that, getting behind the wheel for this.
Yeah, I actually love vehicles and being in vehicles. I got my first car when I was like 17, and that part was actually exciting for me. I mean, I have that being said, I did a lot of all the interiors you see of me in the vehicle are in a studio.
Yeah.
And when there's exteriors and there's stunt driving, it's a stunt team. So I wish I could take credit for that. I do love to drive, but it's not me doing the crazy cool stunts in this film.
Okay, well, that's good. That's good. It makes me feel a little bit better. But it is such a terrifying story in so many ways. What was your initial reaction when you read the script, and just kind of bringing it to fruition? Because to me, it seems like there was a lot of responsibility there as well with this character.
Absolutely. I did feel an immense sense of responsibility in terms of just leading the film. It's not it's not filled with like a huge ensemble cast. There's not a lot of screen time with other people. It is an insular film.
Yeah.
It's closed form, so it's quite insular. It could get claustrophobic sometimes, but I think that was sort of the intention of the filmmaker, was to make people feel like they were trapped in that situation with Tracy. And
Yeah.
to be honest, I just went along with the ride for the ride. I remember when we were filming, something felt really special about this one. I don't know what it was, but even when I was filming it, I had a very special feeling for this project. And I think now that I'm seeing the response of audiences and the filmmakers seeing the response of audiences, we could see why it felt kind of special on set.
Yeah, it is. It does have that special feel to it. Absolutely. And I got to tell you, another thing, it looked really cold. I mean, let's talk about shooting in that type of environment. And I don't know how you got through it, honestly.
I'll tell you exactly how I got through it. One of the transport team members who was driving me kept the van super hot and warm, and he always had a hot cup of hot chocolate ready to go for me. He knew exactly how I took my tea. His name's Jordy. Shout out to Jordy. He's the
Jordy.
real MVP.
Yeah.
Jordy's the real secret weapon of this film.
Yeah, just bring me the
I
parkas and the hot chocolate for sure. But
yeah.
it adds, but clearly, I mean, look, it adds to the whole film. Like, that what is what, negative 35 wind chill or something like that. I mean, I
Yeah.
freak out here in Toronto when it gets zero. Like, honestly, I can't stand it. Really working in that type of cold, it had to add to the performance for sure, and the whole environment.
Yeah, it absolutely did. I mean, one of the hardest scenes to film in the shoot was when there's a confrontation. I won't give any spoilers, but there is a confrontation outside, and we filmed it all night. It was a night shoot. So my call time was 6 p.m., and I remember we were there till about 6 in the morning, and we watched the sun come up, and I was exhausted that morning by 6 in the morning, because it's one thing to be outside when you're outside. And I'm from northern Alberta. I grew up in cold winters, but maybe
Yeah.
not as cold as up there in NWT, but it was still pretty cold over here. And I was always taught never get cold. That's the main thing. Don't get cold. And when you're in those kind of situations where you're conserving your energy to stay warm, I mean, we're talking about, if you're not living in this civilized sort of society that we're living in, people like my ancestors, and especially northerner ancestors, they've talked to me about how detailed they get to stay warm. And I hope I'm not sharing too much information here, but a survival method for people who are in the bush and when it's cold, you can't have to pee, because
Right.
that steals the warmth from your body. And it's
Right.
literally those tiny little things that make the difference between living and surviving, at least out in the wilderness. I
Yeah.
was lucky enough that I could jump into a warm vehicle in between. But when you're trying to conserve all of your energy, you literally have only so much to give. So it does add to the performance that that element of Tracy freezing, I
Right.
hope, is
Yeah.
present in the film. When you're seeing me breathe cold air, that's real, actual cold air. And if everyone could do me a big favor while they're the film and watching the film, please pretend it's like -30, -40, because we were filming in -30, but with wind chill, it felt like
Yeah.
-40. And me and the crew members were doing the penguin huddle in between takes. So we'd all sit together and stand together, and we'd always like take turns in the middle. It was really great.
Well, they could show it in theaters with like freezers going on blast high, you know. It would be a good effect, I think, for the screenings of this film for sure. I want to
Okay.
ask you about your canine co-star. Was she a diva?
Yes. He was not a diva. I wish I could say that, but he absolutely was a little sweetheart. I just loved working with him. He is a really good actor. He's a really good boy. And yeah, I just, oh my God, it was so great
Yeah.
working with a dog. Like, I think this was one of my first times working with a dog co-star in a lead sort of capacity in my career. I'm pretty sure this is the first time. Thankfully, I'm a dog person and I don't have any allergies to them, so it was great.
So that's awesome. Yeah, I mean that yeah, they don't talk back. I mean, they might work back, but you know, it's all good, right?
Yep. And he was honestly such a sweetheart as far as dogs go. Like, he just has it. Like,
Yeah.
he really has this natural skill, this natural talent. And every time he came on set, everyone was really excited. And of course, we all wanted to pet him, but there's these sort of parameters with that. And there's
Of
all these
course.
boundaries when there's an animal working on set that you have to respect. But we all got so giddy and excited anytime he was coming into film. It was really sweet.
Oh, that's so nice. That's so nice. Just to wrap it up, Roseanne, I want to ask you because the film really touches a lot on how, you know, the anxiety of Indigenous women and you know their lack of protection on these highways, and then it just starts making you think also about just in general, like being out there and lack of protection, especially for women. I mean, it is scary. But I wanted to know from your point of view, what kind of reaction have you been getting? And, you know, and for bringing this to the forefront as well.
Yeah, a lot of people have had generally passionate responses. It's been positive and supportive, and a lot of people can relate. So many people came up to me after the movies when I've gone to the theaters and promoted this and gone to meet audience members. So many of them came up to me after and were like, "Oh my God, this is my worst nightmare. It's like my
Yeah,
worst nightmare coming true." But a lot of them also said they were giving me ideas. I remember sitting in movie theaters and there were women and, well, Native women, but just women in general were like calling out ideas in the movie theater. I remember one woman was like, "There's a jerry can right there. Go grab the jerry can." And another woman was like, "Cut his gas line, cut his brake line, cut his brake line." And I was like, wow, these ladies are smart. And you know what? Cutting his brake line is incredibly brilliant in terms of ideas and dealing with this antagonist in the film. I never thought of that while we were filming.
amazing. Wow, that is really, really, yeah, you know what? Good tips just for anybody out there. And then just lastly, I want to ask you about how amazing it is just over the last few years of these Indigenous projects that are coming to the forefront, whether it's TV series, film, you know, whatever. It is fantastic. You must be, you know, must be so thrilled that I don't know why it's taking so long. I mean, it's always been there, but just more than ever now. And I think it's so
Yes.
fantastic. You know, how are you feeling about that?
I'm feeling very excited about this new wave, this bigger, humongous wave of Indigenous talent on the rise. And I will say, it's nothing new to us on the inside who have
Yeah.
been working at it for years. And then I like to say that I stand on the shoulders of giants because there are so many who came before us who were working at this for decades. And then my generation came on. So we have these new generations that are constantly coming in. And it
Yeah.
seems to be building this synergy, which is really at this point unstoppable. Now it's like there's so many of us, we're covering like every position you can think of in the industry, in any industry, as Native people. And it's so exciting just to see Natives like walking red carpets with big stars, starring across these big Hollywood
Yes.
A-listers in films and
Yeah.
in TV shows, which they have been for a long time. Like when you look back in the day in the 90s, like Irene Bedard playing Pocahontas in with Disney, and like, you know, Tantu Cardinal being in
Yeah.
Dances with Wolves with Brad Pitt, and
Of
late
course.
Gordon Tutusis was there as well. So it's like this work has been happening, but it's almost like I feel like everyone was like hitting at a dam and like
Mm.
breaking a dam for decades, and now in the past year or so it's like the dam broke open and
Amazing.
it's just going to keep breaking. It's very exciting to
Yeah. Well,
say the
like I said,
least.
you've done such a terrific job in this movie. My God, fantastic. Kudos to you. And I can't
Thank
wait
you.
until we can talk next time, maybe with, better Wi-Fi and not in your car and, whatever, it'll all be good. But for your next project and yeah, maybe, maybe in person next time. So that would be great.
I would love that. Yes, absolutely. Better Wi-Fi when I'm not on the go in my vehicle. But yeah, 100%. I think in the doing the interview in the vehicle, it kind of works for this show.
100%. Listen, it's all good. I'm glad you're not in a big hurry and all that. But thank you so much for your time today. I really appreciate it. And like I said, best of luck with this. It's really, you did a really fabulous job. Congratulations.
That is so nice of you. Thank you so much for taking the time to do this interview with me. I really appreciate it.
My pleasure, Roseanne. Take care and best of luck with everything. Nice seeing you. Bye.